Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick King, and you are here for another edition of Sustainable Nashville Live. This is the series that kind of opens that doorway between the public and those individuals and organizations doing great work around sustainability here in Nashville. And today, I'm here with Avi Katzman. A couple of things before we get started. First and foremost, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that right now. Just go to YouTube, type in Urban Green Lab, click the bell to subscribe. You'd be doing us a big favor there. And you also be able to find all of our previous interviews on our YouTube channel. Urban Green Lab is a nonprofit, so if you feel so inclined to support the work that we do, feel free to make a donation at our website. It's www.urbangreenlab.org. Or you can use your smart device and just text Team UGL, all one word, to 44321, and you'll get a link sent to your phone. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Avi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just enjoying the sunlight that came out and just working away.
Yeah, it was also very perfect timing. Like as soon as we started the interview, it's just like the clouds opened up on the window. It's just like, all right, perfect.
I know, it's like, oh.
Exactly. To get us started, could you maybe tell us a little bit about Plant the Seed and some of the work you all do? And actually, I'm going to take a step back. What I meant to say was, I'm here with Avi Katzman, project manager at Plant the Seed. So that way people can know who you are, what you do, and where you work. Could you start by telling us a little bit about Plant the Seed and some of the work that you all do?
Yes, totally. Plant the Seed is a nonprofit. We work within the Metro public school system currently, and with young kids, mostly pre-K, and we're also in a couple elementary schools. And we have school gardens at each of our sites, and we provide school garden programming to all of the kids in the sites that we work with currently. So the model is that, when we're in school, things look a little bit these days. The model is that the students come out to the garden once a week with their class, and they receive a garden lesson from a Plant the Seed facilitator, and they get to grow the garden, weed the garden, plant all of the things that come up in the garden, and utilize all of the vegetables, plants, flowers, and really literally dive their hands deep into the soil and have an enriching hands-on experience. We also seek to work with other community partners as well, libraries, community centers. We're really open to how that model could look, but currently we work with the public school system. And we are every year growing our curriculum up with the kiddos. So we started slowly with pre-K, and since then we've actually developed curriculum up to third grade. So we're growing every year and hope to keep growing, with the kids.
Excellent. Was that an intended pun, growing, Plant the Seed? I don't know.
There's a lot of great growing puns with this, for sure.
That sounds awesome, though. It sounds very rewarding, just like having kids, like having, in their lessons, going to those gardens. And we have a special guest appearance from my dog, Leica. Say hello. Now go away. So kind of a follow-up question to that is how has COVID impacted the work that you all do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know everyone's feeling the impacts of COVID. It's totally changed how we are functioning this year. And I think as a team, I would want to say kudos to the Plant the Seed team, because I think it's been a real showcasing of like how adaptation works. We have kind of like shifted as the schools have been sort of in person now back to virtual by creating a few new programs. The main one that I'm working on this year is called our Take Home Garden Kit program. We're working solely with Rosebank Elementary on that program. And it's really what it sounds like. It's a monthly take home kit, a bag or a box with various activity supplies, instructions for how to use all the supplies. There are videos that we make as well that go along with them that we provide the links for.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is they'll get a theme and enough supplies to do 2 to 3 activities. Vocab words are provided, suggested literature,
Mm-hmm.
kind of facts about the theme provided. And it's meant to be like an inclusive, here's a whole bunch of stuff you can do at home.
Mm-hmm.
This, do it with your family, do it with a friend. Kind of a step further of what we used to send home monthly, which was just a bring the garden home activity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, it's a bit more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, our program team is also providing weekly videos for remote learning for those who
Mm-hmm.
are at home, and even for the kids that have been at school. And then also providing weekly supply bins for some of our sites so that their teachers can facilitate garden learning in absence of a plant the seed facilitator being able to be there. Yeah, there's been kind of a lot of moving with the flow this year, and I think that's a testament to everybody in
Mm-hmm.
all organizations really having to just adapt, and we will continue to adapt as needed.
Yeah, man, that sounds so amazing. No, not only that y'all were like able to so quickly to adapt, it's just the content and things like that you're giving these kids is just, personally for me, it sounds super engaging. Like just like a take home kit. Oh, sorry, I'm gushing right now, but that's really awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's
Um,
been fun to kind of come up with some of the ideas based
yeah.
as we had, but also some totally new ones as well.
And so that's only available for students at Rosebank Elementary, correct?
Currently it is, and as we've developed it, we've really aimed to develop it in a way that it could be utilized for other schools or for other uses in the future. It could be really a gift set. It could be for
Mm-hmm.
donors. It could be for something we utilize at other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so there are hopefully a myriad of uses for it, not just a one-off.
Yeah, yeah, and you're already laying down that infrastructure right now, and I guess with the specific type of content, you can kind of package that to best suit the student's needs at a moment's notice. That's really awesome. Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Could you
it's been a
tell
big team effort for sure.
what's that? I'm sorry.
It's been a big team effort for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine so. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in this line of work?
Sure. Um, let's see. There's like a roundabout answer, or
Uh,
nothing.
Give us the roundabout.
Okay. My initial training was in art and
Okay.
design, and now looking back, it has a relevant course. But at the time, I didn't know how I got to where I would get to now. But
Mm-hmm.
kind of took that hands-on, like craving hands-on creating work, and found myself interested in farming. And so I spent a few years just learning how to farm,
Mm-hmm.
working with animals, working with plants. I did a full season on an educational farm, and it was that experience that I actually gained. I was part of a farmer educator training, and so
Okay.
I learned essentially how to be an experiential educator through the lens of farming.
Mm-hmm.
And that was at a summer camp called Eden Village Camp in upstate New York. And
Okay.
it's a pretty new camp. It's only about 11 years old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because it was so new, it really allowed me to explore and take on lots of leadership roles. And I ended up staying there for 5 years, kind of growing every year as I was
Mm-hmm.
there in different roles. So I ended up becoming their farm director and running that apprenticeship program, and training other young adults how to become experiential educators
Mm-hmm.
in a Jewish pluralistic setting. So also using spirituality as a base for connection to the earth and
Okay.
connection to food. And yeah, I ended up kind of going from farm director position into running a new teen program that we got off the ground,
Mm-hmm.
a 3-week road trip program, also connecting teens to food and where it comes from. And we actually took them down south
Mm-hmm.
to visit a lot of different farms and food production institutions, and even took them to a slaughterhouse, optional. But we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to introduce them to all of the different avenues, not all of them, but a lot of different avenues of where food can come from, so that they could make their own educated decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then when I moved to Nashville, I was lucky to find Plant the Seed not long after moving here, and they were hiring for a facilitator position, and that was kind of perfect for me at the time. And I got to work directly with the little 4 and 5-year-olds at one of our early learning centers, and just reminded me of the why that I
Mm-hmm.
love this work. Is really, sometimes working in program or management roles, I've felt that I can feel too distant from it. And so it was
Yeah.
a great year to just really reconnect to why it's so important to work with kids outside with our hands,
Mm-hmm.
connecting to food and their traditions, and um, connecting to each other. So it's a long-winded answer for your question, but it's a little bit about me.
I'm happy that you started by stating that like your background is in art, because you just painted a beautiful picture. That sounds awesome, and I'm just in my head imagining like the little ones like digging up their radishes and things like that, and for me that would just be like, okay, this is why I'm here. Like this is that, like seeing that direct connection between like food and then like kind of learning where it comes from, but also participating in that process. I just imagine that's super rewarding.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh, so why do you think it's important for the youth to have an understanding about where their food comes from?
It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, food is life. Food is where we come from. It's what connects us to each other. It's what connects us to tradition and our lineage, community. It's um, it's the thing that makes us all. It's one of the things that makes us all the same,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also different. And
Mm-hmm.
celebrating different traditions and cultures. And so I think that it also, having that connection from such an early age also can lead to empowerment and um, making those bridges of connection across different lines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like so fun and playful to cook and make food and grow
Mm-hmm.
food. Like to see a child grow a radish from seed and then
Mm-hmm.
2 months later harvest it out of the ground and see their face when they're like, I planted this and now it's a radish and it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and I can eat it, is like there's nothing better than seeing that wonder and delight.
Absolutely. Yeah, big time. Um, so could you tell us what a day in the life looks like for you in your position, and what you find most rewarding? Although I think I might have a clue as to what that is.
Yeah, currently, I think for all of us, a day in the life that's changed a lot. Um, I guess I can't speak for everyone, but I
Mm-hmm.
think for those of us who are doing work remotely, definitely looks different this year than it has in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these days, as a project manager, I'm really just working project to project, and kind of adapting with the organization as needed, just
Mm-hmm.
because there's been so many delight. Coming in. Yeah, because there's been so many changes. So it's a lot of spending time on the computer, a lot of working in Excel and
Mm-hmm.
Google Docs, a lot of planning on the calendar and making sure things are prepared, and meetings, and yeah, kind of the behind the scenes computer life these days.
Yeah, which is all essential.
Yeah.
Might not be the most glamorous, but yeah.
The thing that's been nice with the take home kit project is we have had days once a month or a couple times a month where we've actually gotten together as a team,
Mm-hmm.
in one of our schools, safely with masks, to actually put all the kits together. And those days have felt really great to actually do something hands-on and as a team and
Yeah.
see the product actually come to life. So that's been rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there with you with the working from home. Yeah, been here for a while.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what integrating edible education into our curriculum could look like, maybe on a district-wide scale?
Yeah. I mean, an obvious one would be if there's able to be more funding for these types of programs. I think that's the biggest hurdle is funding and lack of data. So I guess that's something that Plant the Seed strives to do every year that we have programming, is we are tracking what we're doing. And so I think so that we can show schools and potential funders and other potential partners that there is actually data to support this need. Something that Plant the Seed has shown, the programs of Plant the Seed has shown, the in our lessons for our pre-K kids, we provide vocabulary words, and we really drill those vocabulary words home through doing and through with our hands. And the literacy rate has gone up in our programs, and you can see it compared to kids who haven't had Plant the Seed programs. Is there a considerable difference? And so I think having the data to support these programs could look like it could normalize having garden programs, cooking education, a lot of self-directed learning, which I think, yes, we do work in the garden, but really what we're doing is we're creating a space for kids to have choice. And that's a model that we've seen work really well. It shows that the kids feel empowered, that they feel to their choices and each other. It's creative. So my goal would be that that type of education becomes more normalized in all settings and in all ages. That it's not just something that's valued at the pre-K level, that value of choice, but that it's valued all the way through, because we've seen also that that every kid learns differently. So to have that as an option, I think would be awesome.
Yeah. The concept of the kids having like a choice when it comes to anything, especially when it's something that they're knowledgeable on, and even more so if it's something they've had like a hand in, not creating but in growing, I guess you could say. Yeah. Oh, let's talk about the gardens. So you said you all have 6 active gardens, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about them? What all have you grown? What do the kids like? Is there a favorite produce item that the kids like to grow, or they are always like, wow, about there?
Yeah. The gardens are so special. Our oldest partner garden is at Ross Early Learning Center. And it's actually the school where I facilitated a couple of years ago. And all of our gardens actually they've been built by a really awesome company called Nashville Foodscapes. Yeah, they do landscaping, and they're a great partner to us. And they're all designed with the kids in mind, and with Plant the Seed's growing needs in mind. So a lot of small garden beds, or they have these beautiful hexagons that they add into their gardens, and that's a great way to get a group around a space. All the gardens have a main space for learning, to have our circle time. We start all the lessons together and we end together. And then a beautiful feature of the Plant the Seed gardens is we have something called centers, and around that kind of follows a Montessori style of learning, where at each center there's different activities that the kids can go by themselves. They know how to use them, and interact with. So for example, the digging center, it's kind of what it sounds like. There's, little kind of beds with soil in them and shovels, and then they take a little clip, matches the color of the sign. If there's 3 clips, there can be 3 kids there, and they get to dig for worms, as long as they decide they want to be there. There's a cooking center where they can play with cooking utensils. Sometimes there's real food there they can use, and sometimes there's fake food. There's an art center having to do with the weekly lesson theme. There's a journal center where the kids get actual journals at the beginning of the year. And there's always a table set up with manipulatives or little magnifying glasses to look at the seeds, vocabulary words. Sometimes there's live critters there. So the garden is set up so it feels like a playful maze where they can go and just creatively choose. Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. What you've described is it's just, I feel like it's more dynamic than like a typical classroom setting by leaps and bounds. I mean, just so interactive for the kids, and also just, again, providing them a choice as to how they wish to engage. Do you want to cook? Do you want to dig worms? All of those things sound great. Yeah.
It's really fun.
Is there like maybe a particular, I guess, what in your experience, what have kids gotten like the most excited about?
That is a great question. The worms lesson always a like highlight, even for the kids who think they're going to be so afraid of them. By the end of that class, often they're the ones like, can I hold one? Like, look, I found a worm, and they're so excited. We also have a birds lesson that's really, I think, really beautiful, and it involves learning a lot of bird calls and looking through little, what are these called?
Binoculars.
Binoculars. They make insect houses, and any of the lessons where they get to cook. So in the winter time, we do a lot of cooking lessons because it's often when we're inside because it's too cold to be outside. And that's when they really get to dive deep into cooking, make tea and salve with the little ones.
Yeah.
They get to infuse their oil with herbs that they harvest from the garden. It's pretty cool. And there's sort of something for everyone.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. How does the work that you all do at Plant the Seed contribute to making Nashville a more sustainable place to live?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think I think in a couple of ways. I think we're providing jobs to people who either have facilitation experience or want to learn. And I think it's a skill that can be translated into a lot of different settings, just to hold space for little ones to learn, I think is a great way to like add to the community. We also not only work with partner schools, but in the past we've worked with some of the libraries in Nashville as a community space. And some of those gardens actually still exist and are utilized by the libraries. So just adding more community gardens around town as a way to learn, as a way to experiment. And our vision is to be in more schools and in more community spaces so that we can continue to create spaces to learn. More and more.
Onwards and upwards. So I only have 2 more questions for you here. The second to last one is, how can viewers support the work that you all do at Plant the Seed?
How can viewers support the work?
How can viewers support the work that you all do at Plant the Seed?
Yeah, definitely follow us on our social media platforms. On Facebook and Instagram, we're Plant the Seed. Check us out on our website, planttheseed.org. We do run different giving campaigns throughout the year. I know we just ran one for Giving Tuesday, but it's not too late to give or too early for the next one. Always support by donating uh, money and also time. We also, during COVID, it's a little bit tricky, but we do often have a lot of volunteer opportunities.
Okay.
Putting together new garden beds, for helping with garden work at some of our sites, for putting together pamphlets for parents. There's a lot of ways that we actually look to volunteers to support. And yeah, just spreading the word. I think awareness and, letting people know we exist, letting people know the need for work like this, especially if out there you have you have connections to schools or to community partners that would benefit from knowing about Plant the Seed. And lastly, just for resources, if you are just someone who likes to garden or wants to learn more about how to work with kids in this setting, or has just wants to run ideas by, we're always interested in collaboration and sharing resources as well.
Awesome. And I will be sure to provide all of those links to your social channels and the website. But yes, viewers, there are more than one way to engage with Plant the Seed. And my last question, and you can also have a magic wand in your hand to answer this question as well. Ooh, do you have one handy?
I have a big leaf magnolia pod.
Perfect.
That I can use.
All right, so using your magnolia pod, what is your sustainable vision for the city of Nashville?
Wow. Like so many things popping into my mind, but I think the biggest one for right now is and maybe it's sort of COVID related, is to remember community and to find your community, and delight in your community, cook with your community, sing with community. I think that's really important. I think the only way we as a city and as a people can become more sustainable is to help hold each other accountable and to support one another, lift one another. We can't do it alone. And we don't have to do all of it. If we're in community, we don't have to do every single piece by ourselves. So yeah, just that.
So says the magnolia pod. That was a really beautiful, succinct way to wrap that up. We are one part of the whole, and collective impact is a beautiful thing. Yeah. Well, Avi, that's all I have for you today. If viewers have any additional questions or want to get involved, is there a best way to reach out to you or Plant the Seed?
Sure. You can reach me directly at avi@planttheseed.org. It's AVI. Or I think that's probably the best way to reach me if you're here to learn more. Yeah.
Excellent. And are there any events or anything like that you want to plug before we go for viewers, or
any events?
Any events or any things that you'd like to plug?
Not currently, but stay tuned.
Okay. All right. And we will. So again, thank you so much for being with me here today, Avi. Next week, I'll be speaking with Emily Winters, CEO of Strings for Hope. If you have any questions for Emily, or there's an organization you'd like to learn more about, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is patrick@urbangreenlab.org. And until next time, remember to live sustainably.